Some interviews build careers, others end them. A single sentence, a strange flex, an arrogant denial, a tone-deaf joke is sometimes all it takes to shatter everything. Because in Hollywood, the camera never really turns off. And when the world is watching, one bad interview can go viral, go brutal, and go permanent. In this countdown, we're diving into every actor who destroyed their career with just one interview. And number 2 might genuinely shock you. I'm Candid Cora. Let's get started. Number 20, Stacey Dash, from teen icon to total isolation. In the 90s, Stacey Dash was a cultural moment. Clueless made her unforgettable. Stylish, smart, effortlessly cool. But by the 2010s, she wasn't in teen movies. She was on Fox News.
Not really. I mean, if anything, it's caused discussion, which is always good. And thank God I don't scare easily.
Speaking out against Black History Month, calling BET racist, backing politicians who wanted nothing to do with people who look like her. Fans didn't just disagree, they felt betrayed. Reddit turned on her, Hollywood stopped calling, even her clueless co-stars kept their distance. Years later, Stacey admitted she was angry, hurt, lost, and didn't realize how far gone she was until it was too late. Because when you alienate the very people who once adored you, you don't just lose relevance, you lose your place in the culture. But if Stacey Dash lost her audience by accident, the next name seemed to burn every bridge on purpose. Number 19, James Woods, the genius who talked his way out of Hollywood. There was a time when James Woods was one of the most compelling actors on screen, razor sharp, magnetic, impossible to ignore. He played men who were intense, intelligent, and always 2 steps ahead. And for a while, that was him off-screen too. But then something changed. The interviews got harsher, the opinions louder. What started as a few controversial takes slowly became a defining pattern, one that studios began to find risky, even dangerous. He wasn't just outspoken, he was unpredictable. And in a business that thrives on image control, unpredictability can be fatal. Eventually, the calls stopped. His agent walked. And the man once known for his precision and power faded into the chaos of his own making. But while Woods burned bridges slowly, the next name lit the match and threw it herself. Number 18, Gina Carano, the fighter who mistook headlines for honor. Gina Carano had what most rising stars dream of, a breakout role in The Mandalorian, a built-in fan base from her MMA career, and a future laid out by Disney. But as her screen time grew, so did her interviews. And they weren't scripted. She used the spotlight not to connect, but to confront. During press, she echoed conspiracy theories, dismissed vaccine and mask mandates, and made a Holocaust comparison that spread fast and hit hard. The reaction wasn't delayed. What started as controversial became a defining stance. Disney severed ties, and Lucasfilm publicly denounced her words. Just like that, the door that once opened into Star Wars and Marvel slammed shut without ceremony. Gina didn't fall out of Hollywood, she fought her way out, word by word. And while she weaponized her platform, the next name simply underestimated hers and paid the price. Number 17, Anjelica Huston. When prestige becomes a pedestal. Anjelica Huston has always been Hollywood royalty, the daughter of a legendary director, an Oscar winner, and a commanding force in both indie and blockbuster cinema. But in 2019, a Vulture profile shifted the narrative. What began as a celebration of her legacy quickly turned into a PR landmine. She dismissed superhero films as low value, shaded younger actresses as lacking substance, and defended working with Roman Polanski, saying it was nobody's business. The backlash was immediate. Critics called her elitist, fans called her tone-deaf, and Hollywood just quietly moved away from her. Because while talent can earn respect, tone can change everything. But while Huston's fall was slow and self-assured, the next one came wrapped in lies, headlines, and handcuffs. Number 16, Jussie Smollett, the role he couldn't act his way out of. Jussie Smollett had a career most rising stars dream of: a breakout role on Empire, a loyal fan base, and a voice that mattered. But when he claimed to be the victim of a hate crime, everything shifted. The world rallied behind him, until his Good Morning America interview aired, and something felt off. The tears, the tone, the performance. Days later, police said it was all staged, and suddenly, that interview became the scene of the crime. He wasn't just accused, he was exposed, on tape, in his own words. Dropped from Empire, charged, fined, his fall wasn't just public, it was personal. And unlike others who faded quietly, Smollett's story was headline theater. But while his performance unraveled on camera, the next actress lost everything just for telling the truth before the world was ready to hear it. Number 15. Ashley Judd. The truth teller Hollywood silenced. Ashley Judd didn't burn out, she was erased. Not for scandal or ego, but for speaking up before anyone was ready to listen. In the early 2000s, she was everywhere, leading thrillers, anchoring dramas, shaping the face of prestige cinema. But in interviews, she started pushing back, against being sexualized, against the way media reduced her, and eventually, against Harvey Weinstein. The roles dried up, her name vanished from cast lists, and no one said why. She kept talking anyway, about power, about patriarchy, about everything Hollywood pretended wasn't real. It took over a decade and a global reckoning for the world to catch up, but by then, her spotlight had dimmed. Ashley didn't self-destruct, she stepped forward, but if she lost her career by telling hard truths, the next name on this list torched hers with a single tweet and poured gasoline in every interview after. Number 14. Roseanne Barr. When the mic becomes a Molotov. Roseanne Barr's comeback wasn't just successful, it was seismic. The Roseanne reboot broke records, pulled huge numbers, and put her back on top. But then she tweeted one racist post about a former Obama advisor, and everything crumbled. She could have gone quiet. Instead, she picked up the mic and made it worse, blaming Ambien, claiming ignorance, doubling down in interview after interview. ABC didn't just cancel the show, they erased her from it. And just like that, her second chance became her final chapter. While Roseanne got dragged down by controversy, some others, like the next name on this list, seemed to chase it on purpose. Number 13. Azealia Banks. The voice that talked over the music. Azealia Banks had everything. Talent, vision, edge. After 212, she was music's next big thing. Until the interview started. She didn't hold back. She dragged peers, fan bases, entire communities. What began as honesty became combustion. Her Breakfast Club appearance said it all. Brilliant one minute, brutal the next. No filters, no rewrites, just fire. But with every clapback, her industry clout shrank. Labels dropped her, tours vanished, collaborations ghosted. She didn't just get canceled, she became unmanageable. It's true that talent gets you noticed, but knowing when to stop talking, that keeps you booked. And if Azealia Banks refused to turn off the mic, the next woman kept holding it, long after the damage was done. Number 12. Paula Deen. When the apology burned the house down. Paula Deen built an empire on butter, biscuits, and Southern charm. But charm doesn't fix a scandal, especially one caught on tape. After admitting under oath that she had used racial slurs, Deen went on the Today Show to explain. Only, she didn't. She wept. She rambled. She said, "I is what I is." But she never took real ownership, only offense at being called out. What could have been a reckoning became deflection. And in just days, her empire crumbled. The problem wasn't the past, it was how she faced it. And that morning interview, it wasn't a comeback, it was a crash. But if Paula's downfall was built on denial, the next actor's collapse came from something worse, saying the quiet part loud, twice. Number 11. Isaiah Washington. The interview that repeated the crime. Isaiah Washington had it all. A major role on Grey's Anatomy, a rising profile, and a character fans loved. But when reports surfaced that he used a homophobic slur on set, his public denial only made things worse. At the Golden Globes, standing in front of cameras, he insisted the rumor wasn't true and repeated the slur again, verbatim. What was meant to clear his name became a second offense, this time broadcast to the world. ABC cut ties, the apologies came late, and every interview after only deepened the damage. Washington didn't just make a mistake. He pressed rewind, then hit play on a louder volume. And if that sounds like career sabotage, wait till you hear what the next man said, with a mic in his hand and a crowd in the room. Number 10, Michael Richards. The breakdown that laughed at itself. For years, Michael Richards was untouchable, a sitcom legend thanks to Seinfeld and his electric performance as Kramer. But in 2006, one night at the Laugh Factory changed everything. After being heckled, Richards erupted into a racist tirade that left the room frozen. The footage went viral, but the real damage came after. On The Late Show with David Letterman, he tried to apologize, but the moment spiraled. He rambled. The audience laughed. Jerry Seinfeld had to step in just to say, "It's not funny." That interview didn't fix the fallout, it deepened the discomfort. Kramer, the comic genius, was gone. All that remained was silence and shame. But the next downfall didn't come from shouting. It came from speaking too soon and being right before the world was ready. Number 9, Megan Fox. Too honest, too soon, too female. Megan Fox wasn't just a rising star. She was a phenomenon. Blockbusters, magazine covers, red carpet dominance. But in interviews, she said what others were too afraid to, that she was over-sexualized, under-respected, and treated like decoration on screen. She called out directors, criticized producers, compared Michael Bay to dictators, and said working with him was a nightmare. The backlash was swift. Transformers moved on. Hollywood labeled her difficult, even ungrateful. She was telling the truth, but in that era, truth had a price. Megan's voice wasn't the problem. It was how early she found it. But if Megan's honesty got her blacklisted, the next name weaponized ego and watched the spotlight melt. Number 8, Val Kilmer. The enigma that spoke too much. Val Kilmer had everything. Blockbuster fame, critical praise, the mystique of a serious actor with a movie star face. But the deeper he stepped into interviews, the more the mystique unraveled. He clashed with directors, dodged questions, blamed everyone but himself for failed projects, all while insisting he was misunderstood. The press called him intense, studios called him a risk, and slowly, the offers faded. Even his attempts to explain the chaos only deepened it. He wasn't hated, just avoided. Because in Hollywood, unpredictability isn't exciting. It's expensive. But if Kilmer's interviews were confusing, the next name turned his into a circus and sold tickets to the front row. The name large for Number 7, Charlie Sheen. The meltdown that became must-watch TV. Charlie Sheen didn't kill his career with a scandal. He did it with a slogan. In 2011, after being fired from 2.5 Men for drug use and erratic behavior, Sheen launched into a media blitz that felt less like redemption and more like live-streamed collapse. Then came the interview that changed everything. He claimed to have tiger blood, called himself bi-winning, and rambled about warlocks and winning streaks. It was surreal, viral, unforgettable. And underneath all the sound bites, the man was unraveling in plain sight. Hollywood turned the cameras off. Sheen didn't just torch his career, he turned it into entertainment. But the next name on this list never even got that far, because sometimes all it takes is one sentence and you're labeled for life. Number 6, Katherine Heigl. Honesty at the wrong time in the wrong town. Katherine Heigl was supposed to be the next Julia Roberts, the rom-com darling who could act, charm, and dominate both TV and film. But then she spoke. First, she withdrew from Emmy consideration, saying Grey's Anatomy didn't give her good enough material. Then she called Knocked Up a little sexist. Studios saw red flags. Directors called her ungrateful. And instead of smoothing things over, she kept speaking about bad scripts, unfair treatment, and Hollywood hypocrisy. Today, it might sound like courage. Back then, it sounded like trouble. While Heigl's interviews made her seem difficult, the next name's interviews made him seem dangerous. Because where she came off outspoken, He came off unhinged. Number 5. Armie Hammer, the golden boy who thought charm could save him. Armie Hammer had everything: the name, the face, the films, and a future that looked carved in marble. But once the scandals hit, his fall wasn't just about what came out. It was about what he said next. In a damage control interview with Airmail, Hammer didn't show remorse. He deflected, accused, minimized, framing himself as the victim while calling the women opportunists. It wasn't accountability, it was strategy. And it backfired instantly. Studios fled, so did his agents. His own family put distance between them, because the moment he sat down to explain himself was the moment people stopped listening. While Hammer's downfall was wrapped in denial and deflection, the next story is heavier, because this time, someone actually died. And somehow, the interview made it worse. Number 4. Alec Baldwin. When silence would have said more. The tragedy on the set of Rust shook Hollywood. A fatal shooting that took the life of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Alec Baldwin was holding the gun. What followed should have been handled with extreme care. Instead, Baldwin went on national television and started talking. In his ABC News interview, he denied pulling the trigger. He cried. He insisted he felt no guilt. And something about it felt off. Too soon. Too performative. Too focused on him. It didn't read like grief. It read like damage control. While the legal system debated responsibility, the internet made up its mind, and Baldwin's career entered a freeze it still hasn't recovered from. And if that felt uncomfortable, wait until you hear what happened when Mel Gibson tried the same thing and couldn't even make it through the interview. Number 3. Mel Gibson. The interview that confirmed the rumors. By the time Mel Gibson sat down for an interview with WGN News, his reputation was already hanging by a thread, held together by time, talent, and a few box office wins. But when the anchor asked him directly about his past anti-Semitic rants and abuse allegations, Gibson froze. He didn't reflect, he didn't own it, he lashed out, visibly agitated, clashing with the interviewer mid-segment before ending it all together. It was supposed to be a comeback. Instead, it reopened every wound he never truly addressed and reminded everyone why the spotlight had dimmed in the first place. And while Gibson fought to rewrite his past, the next name paid the price for simply telling the truth. Number 2. Brendan Fraser, the whistleblower Hollywood wanted to forget. Brendan Fraser didn't implode on live TV. He didn't rant or spiral. He spoke softly, honestly. And that was enough to end him. In a quiet 2018 interview with GQ, Fraser revealed that years earlier, he'd been groped by a powerful Hollywood executive. What followed wasn't justice, it was exile. Roles dried up, invitations vanished. And while insiders whispered, Fraser disappeared. He didn't yell, he didn't name drop, he just told the truth. And for a long time, no one wanted to hear it. His redemption arc came years later, but his fall was a reminder. In Hollywood, silence is currency, and honesty costs everything. And if Fraser was punished for telling the truth, the next name nearly lost it all for saying too much, too loud, too fast, and in front of millions. Number 1. Tom Cruise, the megastar who couldn't stop smiling. By 2005, Tom Cruise was untouchable, a box office legend with $1 billion smile and a career most actors would kill for. But then came that interview.
First of all, thanks for coming to my Legends Ball with Katie. Was that the best fun? Was that? Yes!
Sitting across from Oprah, Cruise didn't just talk about love. He launched into it, literally. Jumping on couches, pounding the floor, proclaiming his devotion to Katie Holmes with the energy of a man unhinged. It was meme-worthy, iconic, and somehow uncomfortable. And it didn't stop there. In the same media blitz, Cruise went after Brooke Shields for using antidepressants. He mocked psychiatry. He doubled down on Scientology. Every new appearance felt more erratic, more manic, more off-script. The world watched, confused. Studios watched, nervous. Because for the first time in his career, Cruise wasn't just the star, he was the story. And the story wasn't helping. His box office draw eventually recovered, but his public image? It never went back to what it was. One interview didn't ruin Tom Cruise, but it cracked the illusion, and the internet never looked at him the same way again. But even moments like this don't compare to what happens when the news isn't a scandal. It's a loss. Because sometimes Hollywood doesn't just lose a career, it loses a soul, a voice, a legend. Coming up next, we're looking at every Hollywood celebrity death that broke the internet and why the pain still lingers. Robin Williams, Paul Walker, Chadwick Boseman. These are the ones we never saw coming. Click here when you're ready. This one's not easy to forget.